have to decide all the speeches, but what was memorable to you? And you don't have to share it. Just think about it. Okay. Now all the points that I'm going to make, compare it with that point that you had in your mind. What was memorable? Usually the message was very clear. Do you feel that way? That you instantly got what they're trying to say. Either it was through a story that ended somewhere, or it was at the beginning that they said, oh, I want to, for example, in Liz, she said, I'm going to share with you the magic and why magic works. Or maybe it was Liz's story that I'm going to share that one story in 1988, the train. The points that make an impact are usually the points that are very clear. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. When we lose audience is if we go into too many details that they cannot keep track of. Or we lose the audience that we tell them that this is what we are going to say and then never go back to it. Or we lose the audience when we say we are going to say something and then never get to the point. That's why organization is so important, because that's what makes a speech memorable. When we think about the speeches, we often think the delivery. What constitutes a good speaker? We think, oh, their body gestures, or they're very enthusiastic, or they're all over the place, controlling the stage, or their voice changes up and down, up and down. But all this is the addition. It's not the gist of the speech. The solid speech is the one that is well organized. So for anybody else who thinks they're an introvert, they're shy, this works in your favor. Because if you prepare an organized speech, you're winning half the battle. And that's why organization is so important. This is the goal for your next week, that you're going to organize your speech and you're going to learn that skill. How do you organize? Today, you just introduced yourself. So some of your strengths came up, and I'm going to share some of those strengths with you that came out. But from now on, you're going to think, how do you organize your speech the best? And number one point is, what is the message from this speech? What do you want the audience to think, feel, or act differently? Think, feel, or act differently. If there is no message, you might as well sit at home. If you don't want the audience to do anything differently, why are they listening to you? So in today's goal in the icebreaker, the goal was to inform the audience. So get them to feel closer to you, establish that connection. Before you start making any speech, ask that question, what is my message? And if you can write your message in less than 10 words in one sentence, it's going to be a good speech. So you have to write your message in less than 10 words. And be as specific as you want, or as you can. Meaning, rather than saying that I want the audience to connect with me, your message should be, I'm sharing why I got on that train in 1988 and how that changed my life. When you clarify that message in your mind, everything else that does not satisfy that message goes out. So organization is not about what I include, but organization is about what I should not include. Is that clear? Because when we start thinking what I should include, we get overwhelmed. Isn't that right? Mm-hmm. How many of you felt overwhelmed while doing the icebreakers? The reason for that is you had, even though I had given you some organization, you weren't ready for it, and you felt that there's so much information. And that's why I had told you share only one story. And some of you who stuck to one story actually made more impact. Right? And if you did it with other material. The next point in the organization is your construction of that speech. So now you have your message. How do you construct the speech that supports that message? Your opening should be interesting. Think about it. When Jen said, I'm going to share with you that one book, it felt interesting. I wanted to know what that book is. Or when Erica started talking about her childhood experiences, that piqued my interest. Or when Manny said that, oh, I'm just the artistic person and I'm just going to talk about it. I wanted to know more. Right? So these are the key. This is a key for getting your audience's attention at the beginning. Pique their interest and state it clearly why they should listen to you. So for Jen, something that she could have done even better is to say that I'm going to share this book with you, but I want you to get this message from it. So I want you to feel inspired from it. So tell them why they should listen to you. Don't just tell them what you're going to tell them, but why. And it's called FIIFM. What's in it? WIIFM. What's in it for them? You always start with what's in it for them. So there is a message that you want to give, but what's the purpose of that message? And sometimes when you find out what's in it for them, you go back and change your message. You make it more specific. So it's an iteration process. While making a speech, if you can actually put the first draft, then edit it, go back, first draft, second draft, edit it, you will get to a much better speech. The point number 2 in your body is supporting examples. You want to communicate a point. Are you telling the examples that are supporting it? Are you just sharing the stories, whichever stories that come to your mind, or whichever data or statistics that come to your mind? So use only what is supporting. For example, when Angela shared that I wanted to be this person, that person, that person, the speech would have come even better together if she would have said, at the age of 3 years, I wanted to be a nurse, or whatever. At the age of 5 years, I wanted to be a nurse. At the age of 17 years, I wanted to be a cheerleader. But wait, I didn't become any of those, because through that journey, I realized who I really want to be. Now that really shifts it. That tells you why did you include all those other qualities and what. So it changes the perspective of the story. Otherwise, I would start feeling, why am I listening to who you were at 3 years old? Obviously, there is curiosity. That's okay. But was that the point of your speech? And if that was, that's okay. But that's why always see, how do I present my material so that it supports that final message? And that's your body. And in your body, do not include more than 3 points. Just 3 points, that's it. So you have one message and 3 supporting logic or data or stories or anecdotes that support that message. And then your ending. That's your conclusion. The conclusion is probably the most important part of a speech, because that's what audience remembers. I clearly remember Crystal talking why she joined this Speechcraft, because she made it very clear. She gave points up there that said, I want to talk like this, because she built it all, earlier story, to lead to that conclusion. So conclusion is everything that was leading to it, and usually conclusion is your message. The conclusion is, not in this case, but usually conclusion would be your message. So if you are here to tell us why we should enjoy kayaking, inspire us at the end why we should do it. That would be your conclusion. You can include in your body 3 benefits of kayaking. And at the beginning, you can say that I'm going to share with you one hobby that has given me all the pleasure in the world in the summertime. Or whatever. Be creative. This is not creative, but be creative. So that's your beginning, body, and conclusion. Conclude strong. Okay. Many of you are storytellers. I can tell that, because you started with stories and you wanted to make a point. In stories, it's not always easy to organize in a format of 3 points. But still remember, what are the 3 experiences I want the audience to walk through as I share this? So in your story, Liz's story, one of the points might be, I want them to know how that story told me to not be a lawyer. I want them to know where I was when I was getting into that train. So think about it. What are the experiences? In the story, even though story is usually a build-up and then climax, you have the beginning, the build-up, and climax. That build-up can have 3 important experiences for people. But for your next week, I would highly encourage that select a topic that gives you a chance to select 3 points. So why we should do something, how this works, or my 3 childhood memories. Although 3 memories might be too much, 1 memory with 3 lessons, or something like that. And again, be as concise as possible. If something doesn't support the message, it goes out the door. I work with many designers, and my favorite website designer, he told me that the best design is when you cannot take anything out of that design. The same goes with the speech. The best speech is when you cannot take anything off that speech, away from that speech, out of that speech. So keep practicing until you get there. You are going to do this for the next 8 weeks, but starting next week. Be as organized as possible with your speeches. And in chapter number 5, you will see the details and mechanics of how to get there, how to organize, how to choose the right support material. So read that chapter number 5. Also chapter number 4, that's your speaker's introduction. Those are your assignments for the next week. Chapter number 4 and 5.
And you want us to write an introduction for ourselves for
Yes.
next week?
Yes, that's right. So you're going to give a speech that is organized according to the criteria in chapter 5, and you are going to write your own introduction. Treat that introduction also as a mini speech, meaning it should have beginning, body, and conclusion and be memorable, right? It should have a message. What's the message? And message is usually why you are giving that speech. That's the message in a speech introduction. Why should they listen to you? That's the message. Anything else that you, yes, Crystal?
So the topic's just wide open?
Wide open. So like anything, but like I said last time, something that you have fun with, something that is comfortable. And that's one of the points. Be very narrow about your topic. What happened today was when you wanted to share stories, just pick one story. Because that one story will improve your organization so much better. Right? And some people did it and some people didn't. But one story, that's the key. Select that one message. So topic should be narrow. It shouldn't be why you should start kayaking, but why you should kayak in summer in the month of June on the Hooksett River. Right? It's that narrow. And that's when you will be able to succinctly say what you need to say, still make your point in next week is 3 to 4 minutes. 3 to 4 minutes. That's your time limit next week.